we are going to be talking about AMCHAM's HSSE Conference. Joining us on set, we have Ms. Melissa Pierre, Senior Trade and Project Officer. And joining her, we have Mr. Obika Gellineau, KPMG Manager of IT Security Services. Good morning and welcome. How are you all doing?
Thank you for having us.
Morning again.
All right. So tell us a little bit more, Ms. Melissa, about this particular conference.
So this year is going to be our 21st anniversary. We've been doing this for 21 years. And really one of the major objectives of the conference is really to influence behavior. So at the conference, we would have segments that would look at safety. We're looking at looking this year at the OSH legislation. It's been a little over 10 years since we've enacted the OSH legislation, and the government is looking at doing amendments. So we're really looking at what has been the impact of this, what are some of the challenges the private sector has been facing. We have Dr. Victor Coombs, who will be speaking to that, as well as we have Kurt Cadet, a practitioner, who would be speaking to what has been some of the challenges. We have a speaker coming in from the UK, because our legislation is based on the UK's legislation. And he will be really speaking to what has been their challenges, what they have done, and actually the UK as well, they're looking at amending their legislation. So the conference really is going to be looking at safety, health, security, as well as we have environment. And over the last few years, we've been working to develop a security track. And we have specifically, so we've looked at physical as well as cyber security. And this year, we have a really strong cyber security component as well as an HR segment to the conference.
So that's where Mr. Gellineau comes in. So tell us about, you will be presenting, I understand, at the event. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I'll be presenting in the cybersecurity workshop. What the workshop will be focusing on is basically how we protect computers and networks, as well as ensure that businesses know and understand the various threats and how to mitigate against those threats in the cyber world. Cybersecurity is extremely important to KPMG, not only for the business community, but as well for the general public. Recently, KPMG did a KPMG Global Cyber Day, where we went to two schools in Port of Spain. One was Mocarapo East, the other one was St. Mary's College, or CIC.
Yes.
There we spoke to students as well as teachers concerning internet security, especially cyberbullying, which, as you know, is a very hot topic in the realm of social media as well as using the internet. And we also spoke on other topics such as using smartphones wisely and ensuring that your parents know and understand the dangers in using social media as well. In terms of the AMCHAM conference, KPMG has decided to present at the for the cybersecurity workshop, because we believe that cybersecurity is extremely important to businesses. They hold a lot of information, a lot of customer information. A lot of it is what we like to say is internet facing. So these various cyber criminals don't necessarily need to be in front of a business a company's computer in order to hack them. They can be all the way on the other side of the world. And well, for my particular presentation, I'll be talking about cyber resiliency, a model for people, systems, and sustainability. I'll be focusing on how you align your cybersecurity program with your business strategy in order to create business value. And I think it's going to be a very interesting presentation, because in May of this year, KPMG did a cyber survey for Trinidad and Tobago, and we will be releasing the results as part of that presentation as well.
It's very exciting stuff. In terms of hacking, you mentioned hacking and some of the challenges facing the business community in terms of cyber security. In Trinidad and Tobago, would you say that hacking is a prevalent issue?
It's always ongoing. A lot of people believe hacking has to do with computer viruses. A computer virus gets onto your system, and then that is how the hacker more or less gets your information or takes control of your computer. Really and truly, the most dangerous threat to you from a hacker is actually something we call phishing, right? Phishing is a use of deceptive techniques as well as electronic tricks by the hacker to try and get you to perform an action on your computer that you wouldn't normally do. And hackers use these deceptive tricks to try and get you to download those computer viruses or enter your personal information on a website that they control. And it's not widely reported, unfortunately, but we are hoping that as part of the AMCHAM, being in the AMCHAM conference, we would kind of highlight the features. Sorry, I wouldn't say features. More the need for businesses to take a proactive step in cybersecurity and securing the data and their networks.
But have they been doing it? Businesses, have they been responding over the years?
Yes, they have been responding over the years, but probably not as compared to the rest of the world. As we've seen, there is a more concentrated need to more focus on the people aspects. Yeah. With cybersecurity, a lot of it has always been considered to be an IT-related field, but as we have more progressed and we have done analysis on international breaches, we start to realize that how it's no longer IT-related. It all goes back to the way how people do things, the way how people interact with these computers and networks. So we start to see that the non-technical is now becoming more important as opposed to the technical.
I'd like to talk a little bit also about the OSH legislation and amendments to be made over the years. What changes do you think would be necessary at this point in time?
Let me just
add to what he said.
Add to a little bit in terms of the cybersecurity, because what we've done this year in terms of the conference is really, so for example, social engineering.
Yes.
Really is how do you get at the people, because sometimes the systems are really strong, but how do you get at the people and cause them to therefore allow you into the company. So we actually have sessions on social engineering. We'll be looking at, we have Dr. Han's mom, who is going to be looking at the use of drones and how they're being used now. So we actually have a little bit of cyber warfare and how that's happening, how that's evolving, and he's looking at the impact for our oil and gas sector. We have as well Lisa Slosher, and she's our headliner really for day 2. And Lisa Slosher was part of the Obama administration when they had the big breach in the US. And she's actually going to be coming here to speak about it, what happened, and really to educate companies in terms of what are some of the things that companies need to put in place when it comes to cybersecurity. We also have at the end, on the day 2, because it's a 2-day conference, that second day we have an intensive workshop, really get towards your IT and your security personnel, really to educate them in terms of legacy systems. What do you phase out, what you don't phase out. We have the Vice President of Fujitsu Americas speaking to the Internet of Things. Everything is now interconnected. We use our phones, but that in itself, it increases efficiency, but it also gives you many points that a hacker or someone can actually breach your system. Just wanted to get that out there.
Of course, yeah.
In terms of your question on the OSH legislation,
yes.
So, we've had the legislation and it has made some significant improvements. We have companies in Trinidad and Tobago who have gone beyond, they don't do the minimum, which is what the law would have, but they've gone beyond that. And we have some companies who have not yet been influenced in terms of very safe practices. And the legislation really is looking at the government's signal that there will be an increase in inspectors coming soon. So what they're really going to be looking at, we have an increase in terms of inspectors enforcement. However, there are particular things like stress, there are particular occupational diseases, so there are a number of little things that have not been considered or that private sector is dealing with. And one of the things the conference allows is really a platform that private sector, it's a neutral ground to come to say what are some of the challenges you've been facing. And you have the regulators in the room who can therefore address it. So really it is that forum, and I wouldn't want to say what the presenters would speak on, but really that's what it is really to private sector saying these are some of the challenges we have, and the regulator saying, I hear you, and this is probably how we're going to address it, or how it is going to be addressed, how it probably cannot be addressed in this iteration, and then to hear from the UK, because our legislation is based on the UK's legislation.
Now, just if you were to break down the events, it's the 14th and 15th of November, in terms of the agenda and the schedule, closing comments, what is expected on those both days, actually?
So it's a conference and exhibition. So we haven't spoken much about the exhibition, but the exhibition is free to the public, which is really to you come into the Hyatt on both days from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You come in, you can walk the exhibition floors. We have a recruitment corner. We have a few recruitment firms that are part of the exhibition, because we know in terms of this economy, a few people, people have been laid off, and there is some opportunities to come in, register. There's also booths that we'll be looking at. We have IRP, we have BIP, we have Atlantic, we have a lot of health booths that within the health sector. There we have insurance companies. So really, persons who are very much involved in cybersecurity, health, safety, and as well as we have environmental companies.
Oh, thank you so much for being part of our program. It was definitely a pleasure having you on this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
All right.